Hello and welcome back to the Spotlight Games podcast for episode 104. I'm your host, Patrick, and this week we'll be reacting to the biggest trailer release of the millennium, Grand Theft Auto 6, and we have a ton of new details about the new modes in The Last of Us 2 Remastered. Joining me, as always, my sweet, we call him our sweet dumpster boy, Kamen Darty. How you doing, Kamen?
Patrick, I'm Patrick, I'm broken, brother.
You're broken, brother.
I'm broken, brother.
What's going on?
Not in the normal sense of the word.
We're not talking a physical break. We're not talking about your back.
My mental health is shattered. I've absolutely destroyed my own mental health.
And who's to blame?
There's probably just me.
Yeah.
Actually,
is it you or is it those little slimes, those slimers? What do we call them?
Fucking slimes, dude. Those fucking metal king slimes, those metal slimes,
damn.
brother. Fuck those guys. No, here's the thing, Patrick. I think it's also partly our audience's fault.
Okay.
Because a lot of what happened was because of our audience.
Yeah, no, let's rip the gloves right off. Let's say a minute in. Fuck you for listening.
Fuck you. What was it when we did the top 100 games of all time? What was it? We were just like immediately started off the top 100 by just being like, our audience, fuck you.
Total idiots. Yeah, no, I don't mean it. But so how did our audience cause you mental health anguish?
So do you remember back a few weeks ago, our audience, it was like, look, if you can help fund the PlayStation Portal, I will set up as a challenge. I will complete this certain challenge if you can help fund it. And guess what? The audience followed through.
Yeah, they showed up.
They showed up, and so I had to also pay them back. And in the process, I absolutely destroyed my mental health.
Oh boy, tell me about it.
Well, I will tell you about it once we get to what we've been playing.
I love that. So are you saying that we should maybe do a little housekeeping first?
I think we should do a little housekeeping first.
Oh, we got a lot of video game stuff to talk about because this is a Spotlight Games podcast where each week we spotlight the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Spotlight Games Pod or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record, normally live on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time, but right now, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod. So be sure to follow us there so that you're notified when we go live so you can be part of the conversation, just like friend of the show, Cognitive Clips, aka Jordan, in the chat right now, who had an emotional breakdown on Monday. So cheers. Cheers to you, brother. We're all breaking down these days. Another piece of housekeeping. There's an opportunity that I'd love some audience support on. I shared it on socials, but in case you don't follow up, or follow us rather on socials, the good people over at Kind of Funny Games are doing a very cool thing next year in 2024. They're flying out some up and coming content creators to do a week of content with them in San Francisco. There's a submission form currently live that I'll be sharing in the podcast description, and I'm also sharing it in the chat now if you're following us live. If you wouldn't mind taking a couple minutes, throwing my name in the ring, ask a couple questions. Who are you submitting? Why do you think they should be submitted? If you want to talk about my ass, it might help. Who knows? But this is, is one of those things where, like, if there was enough support, maybe some big things could happen for Spotlight Games, getting in front of an audience that big and that supportive. In fact, the Kind of Funny Games audience is how we came across Cognitive Clips, one of our friends of the show. He found us via Kind of Funny Games in a transitive way through the podcast that we do some crossovers with, JK Games.
The girls
Jerica from JK Games was on a Kind of Funny show.
Sure.
And then so we're all connected. We're all one big video game industry talking about video games and why we love them. So if you would be so inclined, if you think that I would be deserving of such an honor, click that link. Go give them some juicy information on why me and my fat ass should maybe be considered to be an up and comer. So yeah, love the help. Would love the vote. I would love your vote.
I voted for you, Patrick.
I would hope so. But I would understand. There are so many lovely content creators out there in the video game space that.
But you're my lovely content creator.
That's true.
In this
That's
space.
true. I'm so many things to you and with you.
It's true.
Isn't that right, Kamen? Kamen, housekeeping is out of the way. So why don't we start the show how we always start the show, with what we've been playing? Kamen, I seem to think, because we had to wait until housekeeping was over, that all of this mental anguish was being caused by a video game. Talk to me about it.
That was way better than mine. I'm bad at the air horn noises. Patrick, I finally beat Dragon Quest XI.
Mamma mia!
Can you believe it?
Not only did I beat Dragon Quest XI, now here's the thing, folks at home. I didn't just beat Dragon Quest XI. I beat Dragon Quest XI S, the definitive edition.
Well, what's the S stand for?
I don't know.
Slime?
Probably.
Does it stand for super naughty?
Potentially. There's no
hyphenated.
Hyphenated. It would have to be hyphenated. Yeah. I don't know what the S stands for, but this is definitive edition, which
okay.
Here's the thing. So let me start this off, and also probably should say this for some context as well. When we did the thing, we asked the audience, we said, audience, I'm using a lot of hand motion right now. We said,
don't stop.
We told the audience, we said, please, hey, look, if you help fund the PlayStation Portal, I will not only just give you a review over the PlayStation Portal, but I will also platinum Dragon Quest XI.
It sounds like you did it.
And I did it. It took me 155 hours.
Dear God.
Every single night, Patrick. For the last... Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So 155 hours, was that starting from scratch, or did you have a save that you jumped in on?
Starting.
You might have already said this on the podcast, but I couldn't remember.
Starting from scratch. So I had a save, and then I was like, "This is not good enough."
Yeah.
I went back and started over from the very first moments of like the title screen again. So I like wiped my save, which was like 60 hours in, to start from zero again to go through the game, and I literally. Every single night laying in bed, put in a few hours. Went to go take a piss or shit. I just sit on the toilet and play. When we were in Ohio for Thanksgiving, I obviously did that so I could tell you how it worked. A long distance, sitting on the couch doing whatever. Man, I played 155 hours of Dragon Quest XI. Now,
look at that man with the hair.
This is what's really important, though. When I took this challenge on, I was looking at the trophy guide for the regular edition of the game. There are two separate trophy lists. So here's the thing. It is apparently very easy to get the platinum for the regular Dragon Quest. And you can do it in about 90 hours.
Wow, okay.
Whereas Dragon Quest XI is like way fucking harder to do. It takes 150 hours.
Wow.
This game broke me in ways that I don't think I've felt since Elden Ring's Platinum Run. I will go out on a limb to say that this is actually harder of a platinum than Elden Ring was.
What about it?
So the thing is the game is really, really cool. And I can probably say this, definitively can say this now, is that the game is... I would say the game is it is one of the top 10 greatest JRPGs of all time. I would put this up there, in my personal opinion, up there with things like Persona 4, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 10. I mean, I loved I Am Setsuna. That's one of my personal favorites. Ni no Kuni. Like, this is one of the greatest JRPGs of all time.
Okay.
The thing is the way the story works is that the story actually technically can end for you if you want it to at about 70 hours.
Okay.
It's 70 hours, the credits roll. Then you hit the post game, or what the people online call as Act 3. Act 3 is an additional about 50 hours. And it basically says, hey, you know how the story ended? And it's really kind of depressing, but you saved the world. What if you could go back in time and fix the mistakes that happened during the story and then do it again, except this time you have to kill God. And not only that, but then once you're done killing God, and then you end up doing all the definitive edition shit, which, by the way, to get the platinum, you have multiple different ones that are really tough. Like there's some trophies that are like the Wheel of Harma, where you have to do like this set of challenges where you have to defeat enemies in a certain turn, like in certain turns, right? And like to be able to get like the last set of outfits you need, you have to be able to beat them at this level. Was ridiculously hard, even at level 99, which you have to grind all 8 of your characters to level 99. Then you have a fucking boss rush at the end of the game that they throw you through a gauntlet that will absolutely test everything that you've done up to that point. Then you have to kill God again.
JRPGs love killing God.
I love killing God. And
I mean,
the thing is, the last boss, Patrick and I, we were texting about this earlier today when I got the plat. Yeah. I literally told Patrick, I was on, I think at that point was like try number 8 or 9.
I was concerned.
And I was like, dude, I even told Sid this too. I said, I legitimately do not think my team is maxed out at level 99. I have the best equipment in the game. I have all of my equipment maxed out. I've got the builds that should be the perfect builds. The level of RNG in that last boss fight, the final secret boss fight, you have to complete to platinum the game. And I was like, they were just one shot my party at level 99. And
doesn't sound fun to me.
I can't do this. And so I finally looked at this one thing and it said, there's one trick. Mm-hmm. No one will tell you and you can't figure it out. And it was like at the very bottom of this forum. And it was like, one of them is weak to one particular type of, one's weak to ice, one's weak to fire. And it throws you because they each use what they're weak to as their main elemental attack. And I was like, okay, well, that's the last thing I know. So I switched up a couple of things. I went in and switched my whole party around to like this really weird form that like no one even recommended this particular lineup as like something. It was just a last ditch effort before I gave up.
Yeah.
And it got down to all of my party members had less than 50 health, meaning one AoE attack. My whole team is dead at this point.
Yeah.
Everyone's dead. An RNG hit where the enemy laughed, which set me up to be able to do a pet pop, which basically gives you like an ultimate attack. But you're not supposed to do an ultimate attack on them. You're supposed to use this one very specific attack that you can only get by doing like this other bullshit that's not necessary in the game called Id Dragonsil's Divine Blessing, which gives you essentially immunity from attacks, period, for like 3 turns.
Ooh, love
and
that.
I was able to set up to be able to undo a magic burst, which caused 3,000 damage to each head. Killed the boss. I was screaming, fist pumping in the air. I have not been this excited about beating a boss since I beat Margit the first time in Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Wearing no pants. That's the level. This was no pants energy. I lost my goddamn mind. I immediately beat it, turned around, popped the platinum trophy for getting the last outfit, and that was it. Game over. So, platinum review. This is the thing I can say. And I highly recommend, if you are new to JRPGs, I think Dragon Quest XI is a perfect way to get into what a JRPG is. I think it's incredibly accessible. I think they have a lot of really cool mechanics in it, whether you want to play Draconian Quest, which makes it like ultra hard for those that are like just want to be punished, or if you want to play really easy, like there's ways to do it that makes the game at least easier. Definitely not post game, or anything platinum related is thrown out the window once you get, like, it doesn't matter what difficulty you play on. Everything is really hard there. So with that being said, I think this is a perfect entry point for people who've never played a JRPG or who are looking for it, haven't played this one. This is a great game. Absolutely wonderful. Like I said, top 10 JRPG for me. For the platinum.
Yes.
I really struggle here.
Okay.
Because on one hand, I feel like to see everything that Dragon Quest has to offer, you kind of have to do it.
Okay.
But you don't necessarily have to get the platinum. because
Is seeing everything Dragon Quest has to offer worth it?
that is another thing. I don't necessarily know if it is.
Yeah.
Because unlike something like Elden Ring, me saying I have the Platinum in Dragon Quest XI Definitive Edition doesn't carry the same weight when
Sure.
having conversations with people, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I would love to say yes, like absolutely is totally worth doing it. I don't know if it is worth it because it is, like I said, 155 hours that I spent.
Yeah.
I can definitively say without the portal, I would not have platinum this game because I literally spent hours just on automatic mode, just going in trying to get metal slimes to spawn to try to grind up to level 99. Hours doing that, right?
Is automatic mode? It'll just the whole battle. It'll do it for you.
The whole battle,
Okay.
and you can set it. Persona 5 does it too. They have that option.
I wish
as well.
Sea of Stars had that. Feature,
right? Yeah, so that's something like I really love that aspect. I think the game's really great though. I think it's got a lot of really cool stuff. There's a lot of trophies in the game that are completely. There's nothing missable, so you're never really worried about having to do 2 playthroughs.
That's good.
Yeah, which is great. I think the one thing is there's a bunch of trophies in the game too that like you don't have to do at all to be able to experience the story, but are totally worth doing. So, especially some stuff in the post game and getting items from doing certain things, I think is really worth it to really get the better full experience. And just doing the puff, like going around and getting all the women to do the puff, and then going and like finding the one secret one that throws you off a cliff to give you the most intense puff of your life.
What the fuck is a puff?
I need you to Google this because you will not believe me.
All right, should we bring the screen share up?
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Dragon Quest 11 puff. There's no passing involved in this puff.
No, man.
Okay.
Nah. Yeah. So the
bunny
bunny girls.
Dragon Quest long running, not safe for work. Puff. Let's see. Let's do share this tab instead. Add to stage. So we're on a guide from one IGN.com. I couldn't quickly find a video.
Yeah. It's a lot of text dialogue. There's really nothing else.
So yeah, we're finding ladies standing outside armor shops for puffs. Is this a sexual thing?
It is a sexual thing. You have
puff buff.
Yes, you have to. There's actually a quest where you're asked for a dude he wants you to experience. You have like a team up ultimate move, part of the pep things. You have to play the game to understand. But basically, his quest is like, it's like when I was a young man, I used to go around the world giving guys puffs, and is a puff a blowjob? So that's what I initially thought. Apparently, it's the act of putting your head between boobs. And like motorboating is a puff.
Just when I thought that Dragon Quest 11 was a family friendly game, we're puffing.
So you never see any of it. The funniest one though is one that you get taken in. This girl takes you in this room. She's like, "Can I turn the lights off?" And you're like, "Yeah." And you have to, if you want to get the trophy, you have to. This is the last one I did to get the trophy too. And you're like, "Yeah." So she turns the lights off, and then it's like goes through all. It's like puff. It's like, oh wow, I bet you didn't think that would happen. Blah 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 blah. And then the lights go back on, and there's a dude standing there. It's like, this is my dad. He's the master of puffs, and he's teaching me all the ways. And then you walk out, and your whole team is standing there waiting on you to walk out of the building. And they're like, "So how was it?" And your response is just, "It was interesting."
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So I'll kind of run this because I feel like we're going on a bit long on this topic, but I would say Dragon Quest 11 Definitive Edition. I give 5 out of 5 golden shovels. It is an absolute fucking masterpiece of a JRPG. The platinum itself, I cannot recommend. I don't think I personally can recommend unless
I wouldn't do it.
Unless you are playing the Switch version and you don't mind, but then you wouldn't even get a platinum, so it doesn't matter. Right. I would say this is like a great game to do in handheld remote play. I think it's perfect for that. But I do think the platinum is very difficult. And I don't think that doing it to its full. I think if you just beat the game, do the post game, all of the post game activity, you can probably not do the final secret set of bosses and the final set of challenges with the Wheel of Harma. And I think you will have the right experience because I do think the platinum doesn't have any trophies that make you have to do weird grind shit, right? There's nothing like defeat an enemy doing this act 1,000 times. So there's nothing like that you have to do. So it never feels like it's pushing you to do something that's like annoying, or it's like win 100 online multiplayer matches. Nothing like that, right? So it's all within realm of reach. I think it's just between the level and the amount of grinding necessary to get everyone to level 99, because for you to get the platinum, you have to be at 99, not just for the trophies, but to beat the final boss. And I don't think it's necessary to go through all those steps. I think going through and doing some of the 2D quests in Tickington, which is like another completely optional area, is really cool to go back and visit some of the original Dragon Quest areas. But ultimately, I think if you just put in the time to beat the main story and then beat the post game, I think that's a good place to let rest. But I love the idea that like this very well could be the most rare trophy I've ever gotten.
Oh, probably. Have you looked on like PS profiles to see how many people have this platinum
I don't know.
trophy?
Last time we looked at anything, so I would say that when we did this like a last year, I think we looked it up, or the year before last. The rarest trophy I had was actually the Uncharted 4 platinum, which blew my mind because I didn't think that was hard at all. Like that platinum was, to me, was really easy. It only took like 30 hours. So I genuinely think this is definitely the hardest platinum. I think right now it's got like a platinum completion rate of like below 3%.
Echoes of an Elusive Age. Is this Dragon Quest 11?
Definitive edition. There's two different trophy lists for it. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Now I will say that apparently you don't get all of the same in-game, post-game stuff that you do in the regular edition. But apparently that platinum is really easy. So maybe go with that one if you want to do it. But I think the definitive edition has a lot of cool shit in it. So like,
yeah, 2.7% of players have gotten the platinum trophy.
So
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Me. I'm part of that 2.7%, guys.
Kamen, you crazy.
I want to know what the Elden Ring platinum rate is, because that one too, like, honestly think that the Elden Ring
10.7%.
Okay, see, I thought, but then again, this is the thing too, is I think more like I was like people who played those types of games like Elden Ring or Dark Souls, I feel like the platinum is really fucking hard to get. But more people will get it based on percentage of people played, because the people who play those games will platinum those games, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
those people will also be crazy. Well, thank you for the full report on Dragon Quest 11 S Definitive Edition, Echoes of an Elusive Age, 3.5 over 2D. We did it. We got the platinum trophy.
We fucking did it, boys.
We fucking did it. I've played a few games since we last chatted. Here's what I want to ask of you, Kamen. I did this last week. I'm doing it again. I'm going to give you a rundown of what I've played, and I want you to tell me what you want to hear about. I finished Sea of Stars. I hit credits on Sea of Stars. I am back into Baldur's Gate 3. I put like another 10, 12 hours into Baldur's Gate 3. I finished Jusant, and I started playing Super Mario RPG since we last met. What would you like to hear about?
Okay. I want to hear all three, but I'm going to ask specific questions about all three.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Go.
First question is Sea of Stars.
Yes.
When we last spoke about Sea of Stars, you had removed it from your Game of the Year contention.
Yes.
Has that changed now that you beat it?
No, it is not. And I'll tell you this. I'll elaborate a little bit. I spoke with Jordan the night after we recorded, because I got to a moment right after we were recording that kind of blew my mind a little bit. And I was like, wow, I spoke too soon. But then by the time I hit credits, I had gone back to my original opinion in a weird way. I thought it was going places, and it ended up going, I thought they were going to zig, they zagged. And personal opinion, personal flavor, didn't love the zag. But I understand why someone would like the zag. Just didn't work for me. This is what I'll also say, Kamen. I was a naughty little boy. And I was like, I'm not going to get the true ending for this game because I don't want to do these side quests, because by the end of it, I was respectfully over the combat system. Like I was ready to move on. Like I wish that's what I mentioned when you were talking about Dragon Quest 11. I was like, it would have been nice if there was an auto battle feature. I was ready to move on. So I was like, I'm not going to go do all the side stuff, but I want to see the true ending. True ending rips. If the true ending was the real ending, it could potentially be back in the conversation for me. But it's a shame that not a lot of people probably are going to see that ending, because you have to basically 100% the game to get the true ending. And the true ending, from where I'm sitting, leagues above the normal ending in terms of how it ends. So overall, I enjoyed my time. I'm glad I played it. Probably won't crack my top 10 for the year. But hey, we all have different tastes. What would you like to hear about next?
Jusant. I don't necessarily remember anything other than the fact it was developed by Don't Nod and was published by Annapurna. No, that's wrong. That was Cocoon. So I don't really remember much from this game. You said you beat it.
I did. It's a very short game. Maybe like 5 hours. It's the climbing game. So
Nod. Is it worth playing?
You know, I think so. I don't think it's worth dropping everything you're doing to play it, but I think like putting it in the pile to play is worth it. It tells fun's not the right word. It tells an interesting story.
Okay.
And by the end of it, like I put the controller down, I hit credits, and I was like, I'm very glad I played that game. And again, probably not going to be a top 10er for me. But I think it's a very well-made game, even though sometimes it's janky as fuck. But it was worth my time for sure. And I would like to see Don't Nod kind of expand what they did in this game, potentially in a sequel or like another, if maybe there's more story to tell, maybe not. But it's one of those games where I just hope enough people play it to see that it's worth playing, that then tells the developers, we want games like this.
Okay. I feel it.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, Baldur's Gate 3. You said 10 to 12 more hours in. Well, what does that put you total time?
About 2022-ish. Okay. I'm still in Act 1. At least I've not been told I'm in Act 2.
You'll know if you're in Act 2.
Yeah. So I'm not in Act 2. And is this a safe space, Kamen? Can we be honest?
Yeah.
22 hours in, I don't, and again, I'm early in the grand scheme of things for Baldur's Gate. 22 hours is a lot of time, but I'm early in the grand scheme. I don't know that I'm getting the hype, to be honest. And I'll tell you why. I think what they're doing from a storytelling perspective is great. I'm enjoying the story. I want to hear more. I think all the narrative bits and the dialogue trees are worth my time. I just am not having fun in battles in this game. And so much of it is the combat system. I'm playing on easy.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are times when it's still kicking my fucking teeth in. And I want to be clear, I'm not having fun because I'm losing. I'm not having fun because I feel like it takes me an hour and a half to finish a combat sequence. And by the end of that time, I've been fucking pulling my hair out just to try to survive. And then sometimes I die and I'm like, well, now I have to start all this over. Or I have to shift around who I'm in.
You're playing as a bard, right?
I'm playing as a bard. And maybe that's the issue. Maybe I shouldn't be a bard. But the one that I came across the other day, because I'm playing it on my Steam Deck. I'm doing remote play on my Steam Deck. And I totally agree with you. I don't remember if you said it on the show, but handheld Baldur's Gate 3, certainly the way to play it.
It's fucking amazing. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm going to keep playing it because I feel like I must be wrong, but I just don't. I'm not moved by the battle system. I think what it's doing is cool. I like the rolling system, but it's so often that the dice doesn't go my way. And I don't know if it's because I don't have certain skills.
Hold on. Are you playing Karmaic dice?
To my understanding, I'm playing easy, but I don't know if you can play easy with Karmaic dice.
Check it to see if your settings have it set as Karmaic. So basically what Karmaic dice does is that it's not a random number. It's not RNG. Well, it's still RNG, but it's less RNG than it seems. Okay. So if you get like 2 bad rolls, you're going to get a good roll.
Interesting.
So it tries to balance your rolls out so that you're not just constantly getting shit rolls. And there's going to be times. One thing I will say, one thing that no one tells you to do, but what I found out was like, yes, you have to. And this was actually told to me by someone, which plus or minus on whether or not this is good game design is to save often.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
all
saving
the
all the
time.
fucking time.
Save
I'm quick
all the time.
saving every 5
Because
seconds.
yeah, save often because a lot of times, like if you make one wrong move during a combat sequence and it can just throw off the whole like shift of it, then you can be like really fucked. What I
Yeah.
would say is like what Baldur's Gate 3 I think does really well is when you build out the way that you want your team to work.
Mhm.
And once you get like a good team together, like I always have like a dedicated healer, and then
Yeah.
I've got I'm a fighter, so I'm like very neutral, and I went neutral just so that I could like try to enjoy it because I don't think I could do Bard. But like I went very neutral. So I'm like, I have a fighter, but I also have a tank on my team. And then I've got like my next set is like I use Asterion who I've kind of set up to have some AoE attacks, but also can like regen his health and stuff. So I have like different ways. I think using like once you hit a certain point, I think Act 2, and this is what is kind of shit, is like it does take time to get used to the combat system. And I think for you who's like played a bit of it, then stopped playing for a while, then came back to it. Like have taken time off to do all this other shit. And I jumped in to do the review of the Portal by like testing out Baldur's Gate 3. And I like immediately jumped into an encounter. Now keep in mind, I'm in Act 3 and did this encounter. And it was like it was like riding a bicycle. I was right back in it,
Nice.
knowing exactly what I was doing, just fucking bing bonking around. I think once you get into the groove of what your party is, then like you're gonna feel a lot better.
I hope so, because I
and
want to
then
really like this game.
I would also say like look and see like what a bard does exactly, and it might just be
Sure.
like super buffing, and then like learning how to super buff to do like just crazy attacks.
Yeah. I realized in the most recent combat encounter, I realized my party was not built like I didn't have someone that could take damage at that moment. It was me, Asterion, Stormheart, is that her
Yeah,
name?
Shadowheart.
And Shadowheart, thank you, and Gale.
Ooh, yeah,
And
glass cannon. None of them
and
can
so
take damage.
right. And so then I was like, okay, I need to bring Lae'zel into the party. And I brought her in and I won the first try. But still, I mean, there were times, this was an encounter in the Underdark. And I was like, man, I feel like I'm strong now. Like everyone is like level 5 or 6, which sounds low, but there aren't very many levels.
You
in this
maxed
game.
out
Like,
at 12, yeah.
Yeah, I'm relatively powerful at this point.
Dude,
And then I also learned that you can save during encounters. I didn't realize you could save during a battle. So I'm saving during battles, so that's helped a lot.
Dude, wait till you get up to your spellcasters getting getting the ability to cast level 5 spells. And you can just
I'm only
straight
up to 3,
up,
I think.
You can straight up just banish people to hell.
Cool.
And like it's some of the spells you can do are just like and that's so like I have Stormheart, and I've kind of like built her into a healer with some AoEs. And she has like a couple spells that will just fucking rain fire from the heavens. And it's like that's why there's only 12 levels. It's like,
and that's the thing. It's like I hear people talk about it. I'm like, man, that sounds awesome. I'm just not having that experience yet. So I do feel like it's partially user error. But then like when I come back in after being away for a couple months, so I've put in another 10 to 12 hours. I would say 2 of those hours was me just figuring out what the fuck I was doing when I stopped playing. I literally ran around the map for about 2 hours until I finally found someone to talk to that like started progressing the story forward. Because even like the quest lines, not super easy to follow. It very much is supposed to be like a go find your own way type game. But as we've said on the podcast before, like that doesn't always vibe with me. That was the reason Elden Ring didn't work for me. It worked for me in Zelda, but it's not here, and it didn't in Elden Ring. But I'm gonna give it more time. I definitely am not having as bad of a time as I was having like playing an Elden Ring, because like I do want to finish the game. I from what I have experienced so far in 22 hours, I think my point is I don't see how this is supposedly sweeping the Game Awards. I think is more so where I'm at the moment.
So yeah, and I see where you're coming from, because like you bring some valiant points up about it. You're not wrong. Like I definitely understand what you're talking about. I think it's a mixed bag of you will, as the game progresses, you are going to get really attached to the characters.
Sure.
That's really going to be a driving push for you. And look, I'll be completely honest with you. When I started playing Baldur's Gate 3, probably up to the same point you are, I was like, I regret spending $70 on this game.
Yeah.
Like I made a bad decision. This is not what I want to be playing right now. Then absolutely fell in love with it because the characters
I'm giving it more time for sure.
The characters are great. The Underdark is tricky. You are when you get to Act 2, Act 2 really starts to kick things off until like the grand scheme of things start to open up more. And you have the ability to go to previous areas again too. You're not like blocked off. Some things will be blocked off, quest lines and stuff like that. We'll just move on.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that I think Baldur's Gate is a really perfect example of how a game just takes a little bit of time. And I think RPGs in general are like this a lot, where it's like it just takes time to really get, because then you get fleshed out. You're really feeling your character. And then you start banging people. Once you start banging people, you start feeling better about that, better about yourself. And
I have banged once. There's been one banging.
Lazel.
You have to wait and find out.
Oh. Well, Spotlight Games podcast, where we talk about the latest and the greatest in the video games.
In the world of video games. I'll report back. And then next week, because we have been going a little long and I do want to talk about Grand Theft Auto, I've also put maybe 5 hours into Super Mario RPG, but I assume by the time we meet next week, I will have finished Mario RPG. So I'll just do like a full review then.
Heard it was
giving some thoughts down.
Heard it was great. Watched a bit of a speed run of it last night. Apparently, all of the speed run tricks from the N64 version
they built
or sorry, not
that's
N64.
really cool.
You know, they're because the game is so faithful. So that's really cool for those people. Yeah.
Yeah, my one word teaser, which I hope improves by next week. It's fine.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing.
That's my one word teaser. It's fine. But I will circle back next week to give my full thoughts. But for now, Kamen, one of the biggest things ever happened since we last met. And since we last met, the release date of the trailer of Grand Theft Auto 6 was announced. And since we last met, and it was supposed to come out, before this recording, but also since we last met, it leaked before that time and ended up being revealed. So less than 24 hours before its anticipated debut, the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer appears to have been leaked. This is, I'm pulling from Kat Bailey at IGN. The unconfirmed trailer appeared on X/Twitter early Monday afternoon and quickly spread like wildfire around the internet. The account was quickly suspended, more or less confirming that the trailer was indeed real. I say all of this to say, then Rockstar followed by releasing the trailer. This was like Monday night at like 7 p.m. and just said, our trailer has leaked, so please watch the real thing on YouTube. Which I thought was just so disappointing. I'm sure the wind in their sails was completely fucking knocked, I bet.
How does that happening? How? Man, I just you would assume that they would have after that first big leak that how?
Yeah, it's apparently, I don't remember all of the details, but it seems like someone connected to the company posted it on social media, like a kid of someone that works there or something.
Oh no.
Yeah, which, man, I can't imagine how bummed it is, because the crazy thing is, to kind of jump ahead a little bit to everything we know so far, it already has over 100 million views in less than 48 hours.
Yeah.
I can't help but wonder, Kamen, if they got to have their moment, would it have been more than this? Or do you think the leak, in a way, skyrocketed those numbers, because then now everyone, it's being shared all over the place ahead of time. And now it's like, oh, it's been leaked. Let's all go to YouTube and watch it.
Yeah, honestly, dude, I really think that it regardless of how this came out, it was gonna do absolutely stupid numbers.
Yeah.
It's the game we've been waiting over 10 years now. 10 years?
Yeah.
It'll be 10 years.
It'll be 12.
It'll be 12, yeah, when it actually comes out. Yeah, I think everyone's been waiting for it. This is nothing. out of the ordinary. I think yeah, I just think the big story here, I don't even think is really anything to do with what's in the trailer, the numbers of the trailer, or anything. It's when the game's coming out.
2025. So they say. So yeah, so the trailer ends, says coming 2025. And Rockstar had this to say about the game. It heads to the state of Leonida. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's what I'm guessing, which is what they're calling the state of Florida. Home to the neon-soaked streets of Vice City, which is Miami, and beyond in the biggest, most immersive evolution of the Grand Theft Auto series yet. Coming 2025, you'll play as protagonist Lucia, and potentially as a man that might potentially be Troy Baker based on the voice at the end of that trailer, but no confirmation in terms of what the man's name is. But it seems like we're going back to a play as both people situation. That's not been like completely confirmed. All they've actually said is that you play as Lucia, but it seems like there's potentially a dual protagonist situation on our hands here again. Yeah, Kamen, what are your thoughts from the trailer? That if you're listening and you haven't seen it, stop, go watch it. But also, if you're watching the YouTube version, we got some B-roll pulled up of the trailer with no sound in the background. But Kamen, what'd you think?
Yeah, it's definitely super cinematic, which I
Yeah.
think is it, which I say that where I don't feel, and someone out there is probably going to tell me I'm a fucking idiot for it, and fair, probably. I don't feel like Grand Theft Auto 5 or Grand Theft Auto in general has ever been like incredibly cinematic. I feel like Grand Theft Auto 5 had that opening sequence, which did feel like, okay, yeah, it's pretty big. But like, I feel like they really nailed the feeling of like video games are art with Red Dead
Sure.
Redemption 2. This is
Like
starting to
that
get
shot right there. That's a Red Dead shot.
Yeah.
What we like with the flamingos flying.
But like a lot of what we're seeing in this trailer feels very cinematic. Now, that could just be because this is a cinematic trailer. There could be literally zero actual gameplay in this. We don't know. But I do think that it does it. It looks way more like Red Dead Redemption 2. One thing about Red Dead Redemption 2, though, is because it was set in the Wild Wild West, you're not really exploring heavily or densely populated cities.
Yeah.
This looks the complete opposite of that. So I am excited to see like how this is going to run on this current gen. Like, I think this might be the first game that really, like, I feel like Spider-Man 2 with the seamless load times really showed like what we can do in terms of loading. But I think this is going to be like the first game that we actually see like pushing these consoles to their limit is here.
If it looks like it does in the trailer all the time, which I saw a story. There was a former Rockstar developer that no longer is with the company, but said like, it's going to look like this. I don't think it was confirmed whether or not like this person had worked on GTA 6 before they left, but they were like, based on what I know about Rockstar games, because I've made them, what they are showing is like in-engine footage. Like this isn't a trailer that they made up for this. So that preamble to say like, if that is true, then yeah, this will be a bear of a game for sure. And to which I'm like, how is this going to run on a Series S? If Baldur's Gate 3, that was one of the chief reasons it didn't launch on Xbox, was because of the Series S. I don't know how this game's going to do it, to be honest.
Yeah,
because this is going to be a huge fucking video game.
Yeah, then I think that's the thing too. This game, I wouldn't be shocked if this has like its download patch. I mean, this 100% is going to come on 2 discs, maybe even 3.
Maybe even 3.
Yeah, I don't foresee there's any way that they can. I mean, shit, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to be what, 2 discs too? So like
Final Fantasy Rebirth is, I thought they said it's 3 discs.
3. See, like,
yeah,
great. So I would see like if you're digital, this is going to be a 250, 300 gigabyte download.
Probably,
easy.
Because you think about GTA 5, Los Santos in that game is fucking massive, and that was made 10 years ago. And a studio like Rockstar, I mean, we've been in Vice City before, but we were in Vice City in like what, 1998 or something. Like I don't remember the exact year that Vice City came out on PS2. 1998 doesn't track, but
I want to say
mid 2000s.
Earlier than that. I think it was like
earlier than that.
It's like 2001, probably.
We've been in Vice City before,
We have,
a long time
Fair.
ago. It's going to be 15 times bigger than that, I'm sure. Like
Yeah.
because something that this trailer shows that we never really saw in Vice City, because Vice City was very much, it was like in the 80s, downtown Miami. We were seeing a lot of like rural Florida in this trailer. So I think similar to how Los Santos, you go to like the boonies of California. I think it seems like we're doing the same thing here in Leonida, Florida. But yeah, I was very impressed by this trailer. I think GTA, to me, it's not a series that I ever like stay up at night thinking about, like, man, what's going to be the next GTA 6 or what's going to be the next GTA. But then I see it and I'm like, I just want to play this game. Like it because they're so good at crafting really interactive worlds. And also and so yeah, John Rabbit 128's in the chat with us. A lot of the social media clips are clones of real viral videos. I think it's so interesting that, because we talk, if it wasn't on the show, is before we started the show, we were like, what could the next GTA 6 even talk about? Like, Dan Houser, one of the co-founders of the Rockstar, left the company last year or earlier this year, and he had been on record saying, like, we're already living in a satirical United States of America. Like, how do we do that in a game again? And this trailer is full of social media. So I'm sure that social media is going to be the driving force of this game. I'm sure there's going to be multiple social media platforms within the game. I bet there's going to be like interacting with social media, posting on social media. It seems like it's going to play a big part in the game, for sure. And I think, yeah, the whole like Florida man running across the street in that clip there, like there's so much that you can pull from in the chaos of Florida and the fucking swamp that I think it's a good fit, and I'm interested to see what ends up coming. But I'll tell you this also. Earlier this year, we had a story that investors of Rockstar were like, "Oh yeah, we expect to see a big jump in revenue end of fiscal 2024, which would be spring of 2025." So that tracks with this. This game ain't coming out then. This game, we'll be lucky if this game comes at the end of 2025.
You
Rockstar,
think so?
yes, I do,
You think
because
so?
they're so bad about delaying their games. Red Dead was delayed like 3 or 4 times.
I look, I hear where you're coming from. I actually, this might be the one time I say this. I don't think this is going to get delayed.
No? You think
I think
whenever we
this
get
is-
a date that we're going to stick to it?
I legitimately think, well, I don't think they're going to give a date outside of like maybe 6 months before launch. I don't
Yeah.
think they're going to give a hard date.
Here's a
super
question for
early.
you that, to lead more into what you're saying, not to completely cut you off. When do you think we see it again?
I mean, I still think there's a chance that this pops up with maybe a little bit more at the Game Awards potentially.
think?
But then again, at the same time, like I think that we're just going to get sporadic little clips here and there of little, updates. I think it'll probably be more just updates of things to come, dev diaries, things like that. I don't think Rockstar is going to do. They don't really need to. They know that, and that's the thing. I think that's Rockstar has the one thing that no one really needs, and I know it sounds crazy, but like I think Rockstar beats out even Bethesda in terms of like Bethesda had something to prove with Starfield, right?
Sure.
Where Rockstar is just going to, all Rockstar has to do is just say it's coming 2025.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give you some insight here and there, but we don't need to do these huge deep dives into like, here's this big open world. This is the most in-depth game you'll ever play. They're just going to be like, this is fucking Grand Theft Auto 6. And
Yeah.
people are going to be like,
Play the game.
Cool. That's all we need, right? So I think that they'll just kind of follow at the beat of their own drum. They'll probably just drop little things here and there. I think we're going to get a little bit more right now. And then with this being a 2025, and I still think like we'll probably see an April release date. I wouldn't be shocked if we get an April release date or like a March 25th, something like that, to try to get it. Yeah, to try to get it in that last quarter before it boops over. So I think I don't think we'll get an actual date though until probably Game Awards next year.
See, I feel like we don't see Grand Theft Auto again for at least a year. I think this
I think
is
so.
yeah, because and the kind of basis of that idea is that that's what they did for 5. Like they announced it and then a year later they gave like a much deeper dive into what to expect. I think that's when they announced that there would be 3 playable characters. They
Mm,
did the like welcome to Grand Theft Auto 5
yeah.
on the streets of Los Santos, like that kind of thing where
Mm,
it's not the cinematic trailer. They did the same thing with Red Dead Redemption 2, where they kind of they have that voice talking over the trailer to kind of explain what's happening. I would expect that we probably get something like that in about a year. Because and I mean, I will say if that does happen, that would track with what happened for GTA 5 in that it did come out the following year, but it was scheduled, it was slated for spring 2013 and then it ended up being pushed to fall 2013 that time.
mm.
But maybe I mean I would hope that because they've been working on this game off
That's
the
see,
record
that's
since
yeah,
2014.
and that's why I don't think that's why I don't think that it's going to be delayed. That's also why I think that we're not going to get a release date until 6 months out, because I think it from there it'll be 6 months of polish, like 6 months of bug squashing. A game this size,
Yeah.
they're actually, you know what? I would probably even go out as far as to say like there's a potential chance that from right now until the game launches is literally nothing but bugs.
It might be, honestly. It could be the case. That's
Now,
apparently that's what happened with Zelda is it could have come out a year before, but they just said we want to make sure
I
it
mean,
looks
it
good.
games this, and I think that's the issue with Bethesda is that I don't think they do that. I don't think they spend enough time focused on those things, and for whatever reason, that's kind of where we end up with stuff. But I do have a question I want to ask you.
Yeah, hit me.
Your thoughts on this, because I saw something pop up on Twitter earlier today that gave me a bit of a pause. Someone made a comment. They were like, they took the screenshot of the beach scene, and
Mhm.
someone was like, "I cannot wait to just drive my car through all of these people."
Ugh,
And
fuck
so,
that.
and I was sitting there, and it was played as a joke, you know,
Sure, sure, sure.
and it just gave me a bit of a pause where I was like, at a certain point, things get because we just had the story come out right of that game, the one that's like the body cam game where you like play the cop and you're got the
Oh
body
yeah,
cam,
yeah.
and it's
Uh-huh.
hyper realistic. It's freaky how realistic. Like, are we almost at that point? Like, in your opinion, do you feel like
Mhm.
we're getting close to the point where like we are starting to tread into very fine water of like, is this okay?
In terms of like let me add to your question to see if I'm following your line of questioning here, sir,
Mhm.
your honor. Um, is this okay? Meaning like, how there's already people trying to get GTA 6 banned, even though we've only seen 90 seconds of it because of like the children playing this game and what it might do to the children. Is that what you mean? Like if it gets to a point where it's so realistic and it's so like, is that what you mean? Or do you mean something different?
Well, we know, like, I mean, they've come out with studies that were like they have shown no links in video games and violence. There's no
Yeah.
correlation from what they can tell. But like as we start to become more and more realistic with stuff like that, like, do you feel like we're gonna get to a point where like we start to run into issues where people like where they will start banning this to be like it is too realistic and
It
we're giving
could.
you the tools to be a murderer, even though these aren't real people. Like,
Sure. Sure. I see what you're saying. I mean, it makes me think of like, I feel like that could be like a Black Mirror episode if it wasn't already of
mhm,
like, a VR game or a game so realistic, like you don't realize that it's real life kind of thing. Um, I mean, I'll say this. I think as games get more realistic, it's probably not a super healthy thing
mm,
to do this, like especially as a kid. And so I wonder if I think of Modern Warfare, the Russian mission, no,
no more
what was
Russian,
it?
yeah.
No more Russian. I wonder it because that ended up being like in certain markets banned, and in certain places
Mhm,
they had to add in that setting of like, do you want to see this or do you not want to see this? Um, I guess I'll say this: I wouldn't be shocked if in the next 5 years that conversation comes back and that starts happening again because of the level of realism that can be achieved, especially if that level of realism can start to be achieved in VR.
Okay.
Because I think there's something like with a horror game in VR, it elevates the amount of scary 15 times because it really feels like you're in that environment. And so I would be willing to bet a game like this, if that could be in VR and you're there and you're seeing what looks like hyper realistic people and you're driving over them with a car, I could see that being more of a problem to be considered. Like, should we start censoring any of this for certain ages, or like does the ESRB come in and like more games are being labeled as adult only and you have to like show your ID kind of thing to buy it? Maybe, I don't know. But it's an interesting question.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting point too, because I was just thinking that I was like, we could be potentially getting to a point where we start to see like an update in ratings where you have to be 21 and up to buy a game like Grand Theft Auto 7, right? Or but then you have to start to take it in consideration, like, okay, well, with consoles, like buying digital, how does this impact digital sales? And like, how do you monitor that? Are we going to now have to start uploading our IDs and like screenshotting our IDs to buy digital games, right? It is proof. And this is also coming from someone who, just going to go ahead and say it, I watch extreme horror, and I have seen the August Underground, Atroz, things that are, you can look them up if you want to get the idea. And you can ask Pat, like anyone who knows me will tell you, is like, would not hurt a hair on anyone's head. I'm like the most passive person in the world. So like, I don't think that there is correlation there, but I also do understand that Joe Lieberman ran on an entire platform about this in the 90s for some shit like Mortal fucking Kombat. We are now in an age where I'm like, it is even giving me the moment like of thinking like, we're giving tools to people to, be bad people and doing
I
bad
guarantee
things.
you Grand Theft Auto 6 by the time it comes out will be all over fucking politics. I guarantee you. Fox News is already fucking spinning the tail. But I mean, that being said, like I do think Jordan in the chat was like, kids won't be exposed to these types of games if caretakers do the 7 seconds of due diligence to prevent them from getting access. The problem is not enough parents do that, and there's not enough people in positions to actually take the 7 seconds. But yeah, I don't know. It's an issue that is far too complicated for me to have the answer for. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens. And then John makes another point in the chat. GTA 5 released in 2013. Gamergate was 2014 to 2015. A lot on the back of GTA 5. So yeah, I'm sure when a game gets this much press coverage, when a game gets this much eyes or this many eyes on it, people are gonna start asking questions in terms of how can we control the narrative, and fucking Republicans like to control the narrative and that kind of shit in Congress. So I wouldn't be surprised. How about moving away from the political side of it, Kamen, to bring in some thoughts from our audience?
Yeah, please. Sorry.
So I put out no. Don't apologize. That was a good conversation. But we are running long, and I don't think we're going to do the other topic that I said we were going to talk about for the sake of time. But I do want to bring in some of our audience responses. So I put it on our Instagram. You can follow us at Spotlight Games Pod to have your thoughts read on the show, like these fine folks. Nickery John. Thoughts on the show? I loved it. Saw a side-by-side comparison where the trailer copied real Florida life. Heart. John mentioned that in the chat earlier too. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, go check it out. It's funny seeing all of the one-to-one comparisons. And then Greg says 2025 is so far away that there's really no point in getting excited. Kind of goes back to my thought of like, I don't think we see this for at least another 12 months. So, but it's going to be at the peak of the conversation for the next, well, at least a few days, because the Game Awards are about to happen. So maybe some of that flounders if it's not also at the Game Awards. And then he's in the chat and he's in the Instagram messages. Jordan, aka Cognitive Clips, no denying it looks pretty, but just don't care about GTA one way or the other. Which I get for sure.
Yeah,
So that's GTA 6. I almost said out now, buy now. Nope, it's not coming out for a long time. But yeah, let us know what you thought of the trailer. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about this so many more times by the time it comes out. And then also, I just briefly mentioned we were going to talk about The Last of Us Part 2's no return mode. Got a lot more details since we last recorded talking about the reveal of it.
Just do it, Patrick. Just fucking do it. Come on, Patrick.
All right, we'll fucking do it.
It looks good.
Well, do you want me to read the details and want to talk about it?
Just we'll make it quick. Just do it.
We'll make it quick.
Just do it
okay. So Jonathan Dornbush, who is in a position over at Naughty Dog that he's in a position of power that writes to tell us, the audience, about what to expect from upcoming Naughty Dog games. This is what he wrote, and I pulled in a lot here, so I'm gonna try to skim quickly. No Return allows players to choose their own path and test their skills across runs of randomized encounters, throwing you into familiar spaces from The Last of Us Part 2's campaign, like Jackson, the Channel 13 news station, and many more. These scenarios will be unfamiliar and even unexpected, though with unique gameplay twists. But be warned, death is permanent in No Return, so if you fail a run midway, you'll lose all weapons, items, and upgrades accumulated for that run, and begin again with a fresh set of randomized scenarios. How you progress during any given run isn't predefined. Throughout a run, players will have to choose between different encounters, which will determine not only the type of gameplay mode you tackle, but also what rewards you may unlock, what potential modifiers you'll encounter, and more. And in between each combat scenario, you'll return to a hideout where you can prep and choose your next fight via a path laid out on a corkboard in these familiar locations. So there's more to discuss, but to stop here to say, when they announced that it was a roguelike mode, I was so interested to see, like, what does that mean to you? Because there's so many kind of different variations. Naughty Dog, there's so many different variations of the roguelike. Like, you think of something like Returnal, and there's like your ship at the beginning, but it's very much like each run shit changes, but it's very different to Hades, another roguelike, where like you finish a room, you're picking where are you going to go? Because this room might give you like this kind of thing. This room might give you that kind of thing. And like, there's like different kind of variations that come with roguelikes and like different amounts of kind of detail they give you during your run. So I was very interested to see like, what does a run mean in No Return? So it's kind of cool that there's going to be this hideout with, the corkboard that'll kind of explain and give you the choice. Do you want to go to this location? You want to go to that location? And within those locations, like, this is kind of what you can expect. So I thought that was interesting. To continue, unless Kamen, do you have anything to chime in there?
No.
Okay. Should you make it all the way to the end of a run, you'll come up against one of 6 successively unlocked boss encounters, and after you've conquered them all, they will randomly cap off future runs against some of Part 2's most memorable foes, but not necessarily in the ways you first fought them. Runs, whether they end in a victory or at the hands of a clicker or hunter, midway through an encounter, culminate in a score, and you'll receive a rank based on your performance. So there's going to be a bunch of leaderboards in there. And then it kind of goes into the different types of encounters. There's one called Assault, which is just against waves of enemies. There's Capture, where you have to break into a guarded area to steal some supplies. Holdout puts you with an AI controlled buddy to defend against infected swarming around you, and Hunted, in which you need to survive until the timer runs out against continuous enemy reinforcements. It's funny, they all kind of sound like samey.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see like what makes them feel different. Because they seem different enough that there's 4 different variations, but when you read them, these all sound kind of like the exact same thing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like the roguelike element I think is interesting. These other modes don't really, because I'm gonna be honest here.
Be honest.
I think the combat, really what I enjoy the most out of The Last of Us combat is sneaking around and stealthing as much as possible. And a lot of what this sounds like is it's going to be guns blazing.
The high action part, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think the game excels when that's what's on screen.
Sure, unless like you're very skilled at the combat.
Yeah, then you can
Because
be like you can do some crazy fucking shit.
yeah,
But
like
I'm
I
not
forget who it
that guy.
was. There was a guy on Twitter. He would share. Is it Shinobi? Maybe I forget.
Sunhigh, something like that. He did like the crazy. He's doing some like crazy Monster Hunter Rise shit right now that is
It's
nuts.
yeah, he did a bunch for Horizon when Horizon
Yeah.
was the thing, where it seems like there are these like scripted, choreographed sequences within the game, and they look so cool. And it's like, man, if I could only play like that, that would be so cool. But yeah, so I'm interested to see what that is. So then one other thing I do want to mention from this, because there's go read the blog post on the PlayStation blog, but another interesting thing about this is what part is it here? Each character. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of different characters you can play as. So you're not just playing as Ellie or Abby. You can also play as Dina, Joel, Tommy, Jesse on Ellie's side of the aisle, or Lev, Yara, Mel, and Manny on Abby's side of the aisle. So there's 10 characters. Each of them have their own unique skill tree. So as you play as them, you can unlock certain things within each, and each of them have their own like loadout capability. So like Abby's going to be very melee driven, whereas and they describe in this Dina as like traps and bombs driven. So like her skills very much are about being able to craft more traps, craft more bombs, that kind of thing. So it seems interesting in the ways that it'll like based on the character you're playing, it'll feel a little bit different there. And then also there's going to be like specific skill trees within each of them. So that'll, if you really like it, you'll have a bit of a different kind of experience based on the player that you're playing as. And then there's also gonna be like a daily run mode, where there's going to be like a set run with a set character that you can do once a day. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of shit. Like it sounds all of this to say, I'm now more interested than I was when I first heard about it, but I do, I want to like get my hands on it and see how it feels.
It'll be
Because
$10
to your point,
well spent.
Yeah, and to your point, like that, that concern of it doesn't sound like any of these are stealth driven. So is it still going to have that like same fun that we had with the game? And also like there's no narrative to it. So, and that's like, obviously that's the part I like the most about it. So, so yeah, a lot to consider here, but coming out January 19th. So it's right around the corner. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw this in some capacity tomorrow at the Game Awards. They gave us this kind of rundown and another trailer for it yesterday as of recording, so maybe not. But yeah, so that's a little bit more about the no return mode in The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, coming to PlayStation 5 next month. Kamen, what do you say we end the show with a little update to the calendar, and then we can be on our merry little way?
Sounds good.
How about, oh, I didn't ever change the lower third. Whatever. Deathloop. Ever heard of it? Going to be free to own as part of Amazon Prime's gaming lineup for December. If you didn't know, each month, if you have a Prime membership, you can get all sorts of free video game things. Usually it's like skins, things like that. But every now and then there's a good game like Deathloop. So if you have a PC and you like to play games on the Epic Game Store, you can get Deathloop for free starting tomorrow as of recording, or today. No, tomorrow as a release. No. Yeah, tomorrow as a release, Friday as of recording. Easier way is just Friday it's available. Resident Evil 4 Remake VR version also coming Friday as free DLC if you already own the game for PSVR 2. Game Pass games for December: Spirit of the North, SteamWorld Build, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Goat Simulator 3, and Far Cry 6. And then PS Plus games for December: Lego 2K Drive, Power Wash Simulator. We're bringing the good word of the Power Wash to the people.
Yeah.
And Sable. And then Dragon's Dogma 2 finally got a release date for March 22nd. And finally, and something that might be of interest to people, Netflix is getting Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition. And you might say, like, Netflix, I realized I was having this conversation with people recently. They had no idea that Netflix offered video games. So if you don't know, Netflix has video games that you get for free as part of a Netflix membership. That you can play on your phone. I think some of them you can play on your TV, and you can use either your phone or like actually, I don't know that you can use the Bluetooth controller, but check it out. There's actually some good shit on there. Like Immortality, one of my favorite games of last year, is on there. Oxenfree and Oxenfree 2 are on there. Like there's some good shit hidden within the Netflix games, so go check that out. And then I'm also actually reminded, Kamen, if people are still listening, I meant to bring this up during the What We're Playing segment. I learned this thing this week. You know, when you're buying a game on PlayStation, you get little points. Have you noticed this? Have you looked into what those points do?
So you can use them to get other games or discounts.
I got $40 in fucking PlayStation money.
Yeah.
Just from these points. So it's like,
Yeah.
I just got Chance of Sonar for free. I have another $20 that I'm going to use on something. I'm like, I had no idea that these points I was getting were.
I've got,
dude, I've talked about it on this show, but
I've got $40 sitting there right now. That's why I was like, all right, which one? What is Kamen going to suffer through this time?
So
I got
it's like
$40 to blow through right now. Big.
If you are like me and had no idea, go check out how many points you have in PlayStation, because you might be able to buy some games for free like I did. And then John in the chat, to actually finish the show this time, John in the chat does ask us, Game Awards, are y'all doing commentary tomorrow? We sure fucking are. I should have said this at the top of the show during housekeeping. Maybe I'll edit it to be there. But if you don't follow us on socials do. But we're going to be going live tomorrow night because Kamen, we are official. Yes. We are official co-stream partners of the Game Awards. That's right. I got an email from Jeff Keighley himself. I guarantee you it wasn't Jeff, but this channel has the official permission of the country of Canada and Jeff Keighley to co-stream the Game Awards. So we're going to be live here, twitch.tv/SpotlightGamesPod tomorrow. To be determined if we're going to also stream the pre-show, which starts at 7:30 Eastern time. But at the very least, we will be live a few minutes before 8 p.m. Eastern time to do the whole show proper. It's going to be me. It's going to be Kamen. We might have a special third guest. You're going to have to wait and see. But I'm excited. It'll be really fun. So we would love if you'd watch with us so that you can freak out when BioShock is revealed, like I predicted it will be. It's not going to be, but it'll still be fun. So hope to see you there. Kamen, where can the good folks follow you in the meantime?
Yeah, you can follow me at the Dumpster Boy on Twitter. You can follow Save Trash Cinema, the other podcast that sometimes we release episodes for. It's disappointing who fucking knows. You fucking knows. We're gonna go through all the goddamn Amityville movies. You want to watch an episode about Amityville Death Toilet? Fuck you, you do. Of course you fucking do, you losers. Get in the car. Ride with us. Save Trash Cinema on all socials.
Let's go. You can follow me at Patrick Schwag. You can follow the pod at Spot Games Pod on Twitter or Spotlight Games Pod on Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, Threads, YouTube, everywhere. Spotlight Games Pod except Twitter, because they don't fucking let me have more than however many characters Spot Games Pod is. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night, or actually tonight as of release, December 7th. To react to the Game Awards. So be there or be fucking